And now for our feature presentation.
This is great because on the back it actually says this film is also known as
the I'll Watch It Later podcast.
You ever heard of that film?
And now, on with the show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to I'll Watch It Later podcast, the podcast where we lie about the movies we've seen to impress our friends. As always, I am Aaron, joined by my best friend and co-host, Jordan.
Hi, everybody.
And Scott's here.
Yep.
That was at least
Scott,
I guess I'm getting the fucking blame for that one.
Yeah.
you're getting the blame for what one?
Not cleaning the table.
No. Yes,
we just
both are.
We're just brushing right over
Well,
Jordan.
See, the problem is he saw me bring ice cream and cupcakes into the
Yeah,
house. So
he
was
brings
like, well,
shit.
at least he's trying. This guy's the
You
asshole.
went out of your way to make a mess. You're like, oh, hey, there's movies sitting on the table. I'll just set up on top of them. And then when I mention it, you're like, let me pick up this cardboard that's in
Just
nobody's
in
way.
the middle of the floor. It's all good.
Where's Ford?
So,
Where's Ford's going to be?
best friend, brother-in-law, and producer Scott is here.
Yes.
Nice guy.
I mean, I don't know how much longer.
You keep saying that.
Just because I don't know if he wants
You keep
to
using
be
that word.
here anymore. All right. We had a week of stuff. We went and saw Clerks 3 last night. All sorts of stuff happened.
That's going to be a good run of this show.
Yeah.
That's going to be 90%, and we have a movie to talk about.
I know.
Barbarian?
Yep, Barbarian. We saw Barbarian. Scott did not, because he's like, only. I have to tell you something. Scott, it does not make any sense, because I'm like, hey man, do you want to go see Barbarian 8:00 at night? And he's like, no thanks. And then I'm like, do you want to go see a double feature?
I was already there.
Yeah, I mean,
And he's like, yeah, that's fine.
it's like I don't want to drive back.
Yeah,
so yeah
if you drag me out at like 8, 9 o'clock at night, I'm already regretting it. I was already out, so I was like, all right, whatever, man.
You mean you didn't, fall asleep during Pearl?
Which we will talk about next week.
Yep.
So, me and Jordan got the chance to see Barbarian. Have you watched anything? Let's just get that out of the way.
I mean, other than the Monsters that I watched,
Okay, we'll talk about
which I know that
later.
we're not really talking about because you guys haven't finished it. But I mean, I did get to watch that. So.
What are
we
your
did
initial
start.
thoughts without getting too much into it?
My initial thoughts are that like visually, it's super cool. Like it's very Halloween. It's very colorful. I mean, they did a great job on all like the set
It looks
stuff.
campy. Like
Y-
from
it
what
is
I've seen, it's
campy.
very campy.
It is campy, but the thing is, that's the Monsters. I mean, the Monsters is very campy. So
I love the show. That's why this bothers me.
Yeah, you just
Like,
get full on color. So
I'm 30 minutes in, and it feels like a Disney movie, like a
kind of.
straight to Disney film.
I'm about 10 minutes in, and the second dude takes the hammer and smacks zombie in the forehead, I'm just like, okay.
I kind of
This is
chuckled.
weird.
I did chuckle.
And
at
it's
that
not
a
even
little
it's
bit.
the
10 minutes
same
in.
dude. The guy who took the hammer, real quick, is the same dude who was the main bad guy in Barbarian.
Really?
The guy in the bed that shot him.
Oh.
Yeah. So same actor.
Well, the Tin Robot is the guy who played Eddie Munster
We haven't
from the
got-
original.
Oh, nice.
Haven't got
Okay.
that far.
Okay. So
Yeah.
yeah, we'll watch that this week, and then we'll get into it
Yeah, we'll talk
in
about
a
it.
couple
We'll
weeks.
talk about it in a couple weeks.
It's fun. It's a movie that you could probably actually sit down and watch with your kids because it's not when you think Rob Zombie.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no
Explains the screaming Wesley did when I put on Halloween.
Yeah, there's no swearing. There's really nothing like. I mean, it's the Monsters.
You have kids?
It's literally the Monsters in color.
At least one.
It's like the origin story. I'm about 30 minutes in. If you just watch that part, you're about 4 minutes in.
No, I got to the part where Grandpa gets out of his thing, hurts his back.
Oh, yeah, that's like
gets his
10
back
minutes
cracked.
in.
Yeah, I'm about 10 minutes in. And
It
the
gets
guy who
really
cracks
bad
his
from
back
there.
is Sylvester McCoy. He was like one of the doctors in Doctor Who, and he was in Radagast in the Hobbit movie. So I recognize him immediately. I'm like, oh, you dragged him into this? So it's I'll watch it. I'll definitely watch it.
Okay.
Later. Roll credits.
Yeah. All right. So, yeah, Jordan and I got a chance to go see Barbarian. What's his name? Zach Krieger from The Whitest Kids You Know, which is one of my favorite shows of all
I have
time.
never seen it. When I brought up
seen
that
it?
this movie, someone goes, "Oh, Zach Krieger did it." I'm like, and they're like, "From The Whitest Kids You Know," and I'm like, I'm like, I know nothing about this
Dude, you have to watch The Whitest. Trevor Moore is hilarious.
That's what I hear.
Rest
and
in peace.
I'll watch it.
But, dude, that that show was so fucking good. I remember when I was 20, I was kind of like you, where I'd never heard of it, but everyone kept telling me to watch it. So I sat down one day.
That's how old that show is?
Yeah, and I had ordered
You're like 45.
I know. I ordered the actual discs from fucking Netflix.
Right.
And watched the entire run of the show in like 2
That's
weeks.
right, kids. Back in the day, Netflix actually mailed you movies.
Yes.
I think they
Sent
still
you
can.
Do they
DVDs.
really? Oh my
I think
God.
you still can get the
And
discs.
Aaron's like, get these DVDs out of my house. Where are the Blu-rays?
How dare you?
There were no Blu-rays back then.
Burns
Our
them.
Blu-rays were very, very new. Because, yeah.
Yeah, so I had never heard. I mean, I've heard of Whitest Kids You Know. I've never seen it.
The same.
So
Gotta watch it.
what is it
I'm
like
gonna
sketch comedy?
Yeah,
Is
it's
it...
exactly like Mr. Show with Bob and
Gotcha.
Eric or whatever the fuck. Bob and Dave. Bob and Dave.
name and
I'm
name.
thinking of Eric and whatever. You know who I'm saying?
God, can you go one episode without mentioning Eric's name?
No, that's you. Hey guys, Eric called me from the set of Clerks 3, but
up.
he wouldn't tell me anything. But that's the part he told me about
Yeah.
before I went and saw the movie. So
it was great.
I already knew what I was going to see.
I already knew he was going.
Yeah. Jordan. Hey guys,
Anyway.
I've been talking to Eric all week.
Yes, I usually do.
He's
Talked to
gonna
him
send
last
me some
night.
chips, and I'm not going to share with you guys or
No.
anything. 'Cause
Share,
that's
I
my
share
friend.
everything I get from over there, so don't even give me. I get another box of stuff coming, by the way.
Nice.
I know.
For the-
Hopefully, it gets here before the snack show.
I was just
and
going to
we'll have
ask
some
before
good
the
stuff.
snack show. Or?
I hope so. It's on its way. Like it got mailed, so it will be here probably by the end of this week.
Yay.
So we'll have some more snacks that I am providing. Me, the provider.
That's about time. Who paid for the Clerks tickets?
The provider.
It definitely wasn't you.
Anyway.
So yeah, we went and saw Barbarian, and it was directed by Zach Krieger from White Kids, you know, which you should watch. If you
Wait,
haven't
I've never watched that. I was gonna just go real loop.
yet. Horror movie. It's horror movie season, so we're going to be talking about a lot of horror movies. I personally absolutely love this film. Probably one of my favorite films of the year. I thought it was cool. It's kind of split into like a 3-section story arc that kind of, you know, something happens, and in the second half of the movie, something else happens, and then there's a third act that kind of intertwines something else, and it's like almost perfect. I thought it was really good second outing for him as like a real director, because Miss March is a terrible film.
That's what everyone says. I've never watched it, but I mean, it's getting like 5% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I saw it in the theater, and yeah, so I would highly, highly recommend this. Justin Long, fucking Pennywise is in it. Alexander Skarsgård,
Is it Alexander Skarsgård?
or as
I
opposed
think it's
to
the other Skarsgård. Well, there's like 1,000 Skarsgårds.
Bill or Bob
I think it's
or
Bill, actually.
Bill
I
Skarsgård.
think it's Bill Skarsgård. This movie was probably the most suspenseful thing I have ever seen. It's not so much on the
Bill
gore.
Skarsgård.
Yeah, it's not so much on the gore factor that gets you. Like there are some parts where it's like, okay, you know, that was kind of gnarly. It's just very, very suspenseful. Like, you know, the premise is this girl gets an Airbnb. She's, you know, in the middle of the worst parts of Detroit. It's raining. She can't see the neighborhood. She pulls up to this house. The house looks really nice. She gets up there, can't get in. The code won't work. She finally figures out the code, opens it up. There's no key. So she's knocking on the door, doesn't know what's going on, wants to leave. Someone's in the house, opens it up. Turns out he booked with a different company this house, and the everything kind of crossed. So now he's booked, she's booked, and she doesn't know what's going on. And the whole time, that first, I would say, part of the movie, she is like one of the characters in a horror movie that you never see. She's cautious. She's wary of what's going on. She's aware of her surroundings. She doesn't really want to interact too much. He makes her a glass of tea. She won't drink it because she never watched him make it.
Because
so
the
she
water's
can't-
terrible.
Well, it's Detroit. she doesn't know the guy, so she's wary of him. She's locking doors when she goes in the other room. She's taking her stuff with her. She is like she would survive a horror movie, and then something switches, and she makes 1,000 bad decisions. And me and Aaron were literally doing the whole thing of yelling at the screen like, "Well, hope you die, you fucking idiot."
You deserve it.
You deserve this.
Yeah.
Like it was crazy, and it takes a little bit of a twist early on where a character you think might be the problem isn't, and it shifts focus, and then dead stop in the middle. Second story starts to happen, and you meet Justin Long, and you know he's like a studio exec, very Hollywood type, and you know douchebag, and
He's in the middle of getting canceled.
he's getting yeah, he's very date rapey, and he brings a level of like odd comedy to this movie in a way that I didn't see happening. You know, there's a part where like the house that she was in is his house. He owns it, and it's a rental property for him. So he's going through some legal issues. He's going to try to sell some property. So he goes out there to check out his property. He's going down into the basement, the creepy dungeon basement. You think something really bad's going to happen. Shoot to the next scene. He's looking up if he can claim the extra square footage of Murder Dungeon on his house like property values. And then they spend 10 minutes of him taking the longest tape measure I've ever seen and measuring all the square footage of this fucking murder basement. And it's fucking hilarious. And then it comes back to, like, you know, bite him in the ass. And it's this movie, like I was telling you, Scott, last night, and Aaron watched me do it. I was watching side-eyed with like a hand over my one part of my face and kind of just doing that. I'm going to watch it, but I'm going to squint. So if like something bad's going to happen, I can close my eyes. And I haven't done that in a movie in a long time. And part of it was the music is perfect. Like the soundtrack of this it hits you in the right spots, and it's very weird and ominous, and it's creepy, and there's a lot to this movie, and I loved it. Like there are some, parts you chuckle at, like toward the end, and it's like, okay, come on, how do you end this? But okay,
right. I agree that there was a guy sitting next to me, and I was looking at him more than I was looking at the screen.
Was it me?
Some points,
Thanks,
no,
man.
it was to the left. And I had to cover my eyes, man. It was just so like, it's just like right there, like something's gonna happen, and then it wouldn't happen.
Yeah. And it's just it's tense. It's a very tense movie, and it starts off that way, and it just keeps going. And I adore this movie. Like it's really great. The one problem I have with our theater going experience is I think after we left, some mom brought her like 8-year-old and like 6-year-old kid. Remember?
No.
When we were walking out and the little girl was talking to her mom about the movie, and we're like, wait, did that mom bring her kids to this movie?
It's going to the movies is starting to become
it's weird, and we've got many stories about all this,
get to
but
that next week.
Fucking
no, that's this week.
we're talking about Clerks.
Oh,
We'll talk about Pearl and the other part of it. This is
So-
a 2-part story.
But yeah, I
love that movie.
I loved it too. I gave it 4.5. I thought it was really good. I think if you're looking for something scary this time of year,
It's
and
good.
you're tired of going to see all the psychological thrillers in the theater or on Netflix or whatever, I think this is absolutely perfect horror. Not perfect, but it's a very good horror movie that I think will frighten you.
It will.
And it takes
I won't
place-
get an Airbnb anymore. I don't know what the fuck's going on.
And I know you said at the beginning, like, she makes all the right decisions, but I would have never stayed there. I would have been
No. I mean, she was very cautious in what she did, but yeah.
And I get the premise of like, okay, it's a bad part of town, and wait till the morning, and it's raining, and I have a job interview, and blah blah blah. I'll just go get a hotel. Just overpay. Don't stay with a stranger. Like. I don't know. That's the only part of me that I'm like, I would have never gone in that fucking house. I know. I would have been pissed, and I would have got my money back later. But there's no part of me that would have, laid my head down in that bed, especially at the middle of the night when the door opens and he's all talking to himself all crazy. But and I'm not spoiling anything because
I'm literally avoiding major plot points here.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm trying to be as vague as I want people to see this.
You'll have no idea what I'm talking about, and even when you do, you'll be like, oh, that's unimportant. So yeah, what'd you give it?
I give it a 4. It's not a perfect ending for me. Like I don't know how you end this movie,
Right.
and it was weird. Like some of the choices, like with the homeless guy, was a little weird. I'm like, that's a little over the top. Like there was no reason for that.
Because his arm ripped off for no reason.
No reason. Like super strength fucking weirdo.
Yeah.
And then that whole jumping off the water tower was a little campy.
It was.
And then it's like
I'm okay with camp done
yeah, but okay,
right.
see the laws of physics. Like she's already halfway down. That thing fucking jumps, and somehow, no, that's not happening. It's one of those kind of movies. But overall, I had a very good experience with it. I'll definitely watch it again.
But later, right?
I'll watch it later again. I liked it though. I really did. I think the casting was great. I'm trying to think. It was one of those weird movies where they show you enough to freak you out, but they also really don't show you a lot of things.
I know. I want more.
Yeah.
I would like more of the old guy, like from his time.
Like the 80s. Like
Yeah.
yeah.
And I want more of like what happened in that basement.
or what was on those tapes, or
in the
like what the
room.
hell, man?
Yeah, so it definitely leaves you wanting more while still giving you pretty satisfying.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
So
yeah, I give it.
Go
a 4.
see it. Go support.
It made I think over 10 million the first weekend for a movie that no one heard about.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
good.
Like
Yeah.
it was very just low budget type of movies, and yeah, 10 million set a record. I was like, that's
Yeah,
really
how
cool.
most horror movies are. I mean,
I-
they kind of gain traction over time, unless it's like a Halloween that comes out. Everybody will go see that.
And a lot of times, especially with Blumhouse, their model is we can make them cheap, and whatever we
Yeah.
make it's always going to be profit. So like this follows that same thing where I'm sure it didn't cost a lot of money to make, and it's going gangbusters, man. It's like it's a good time to release this.
I agree because of the horror and the October. Yes.
Thanks, Aaron.
No, I you said everything I could say, so I was just trying to,
Yeah.
piggyback. But and then I'm trying to decide if I want to talk about that next week or
Let's save all the at-home watching for the next show.
Okay.
I think we're gonna have enough content to talk
'Cause there's
about our
definitely,
movie and Clerks 3.
there's
'cause
there's
some
enough-
side
there's
story that's got to be
a
told.
movie I really want people to watch, but I guess we'll talk about it next week. Yeah. So last night okay, so I'll start this conversation.
Yeah, please start it off.
I will give you a timeline of this. So, trailer drops for Clerks 3. My wife, who is super pregnant at the time, is like, "Hey, this is the week we are having the baby."
So mark this. He's gonna get himself in trouble. We may have to edit this out.
What? No, she knows. She knows.
Go ahead, bring it up.
She's like, "This is the week I'm gonna have the baby," and I was like, "Oh shit," because the way Kevin Smith works is his movies are really only for the fans now, so they're no longer getting like wide releases. They're only getting these Fathom events. I went to Yoga Hosers that way. Oh my god,
Sorry.
fucking
Yeah.
kill myself. I fell asleep. I'll never forget I fell asleep, but
You didn't like the Bratzies?
I hated everything about Yoga
Yoga
Hosers.
Hosers so
but
bad.
then I went and saw Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back reboot. And I loved it, and I even went to the roadshow and the Q&A, and it was incredible. And I'm just, if there's one thing you don't know about me, is I probably love Kevin Smith as much as I love Quentin Tarantino. I think Kevin Smith makes movies for me, even though I'm not a stoner. I relate to his movies more than anything. The nerd, slacker, like deadbeat who just wants to hang out with his friends and talk about comic books, Star Wars, and Batman. That resonated with me for a really long time. So when the tickets came up, it was only playing two nights, the 13th and like the 15th.
It was like
which
Wednesday
a
and Thursday, or
it was a
Tuesday and
Tuesday
Wednesday.
and a Thursday.
Oh, was it? Okay.
So she was supposed to give birth on that Tuesday, and then I was trying to go that Thursday night. And she was like, "Yes, you can go," but I knew that she really didn't want me to go.
Yeah, and why did you know that? Because your best friend here tried to talk you out of it.
Yeah, but I just
As much as I love Clerks and Kevin Smith,
it's just so hard because it's like, yes, my baby is going to be here for a long time, but they're only
Clerks 3 will only be here once.
No, the Clerks 3 will only be shown in the theater for a very limited time, and I wanted that experience in the theater the same way I had like Clerks 2. Well,
Oh, you had a good experience, did you?
We
Keep
experienced
going.
it. Yeah, we experienced it.
Fucking
Sandal guy.
So, lo and behold, I guess enough tickets get sold for this Fathom event that he decides to release it the entire week. It actually gets out of theaters next Tuesday if you're listening to this. It's
If you're listening on Sunday, go see this.
Yeah, it's on this. It's the 17th when we're recording. This will come out the 18th. You have until the 20th to see it. So I highly recommend doing that, and we'll get into that in a second. But my kid was hurting my wife so much that they decided to move it up a week. So it actually was no issue going, kind of.
For that day.
Right. So I bought you all 3 tickets. I was so excited, and we headed to the Regal, which the reason that's important is because we have one Regal in Arizona. These are Fathom events, so they don't show them at our chain theater, which is called Harkins out here, which is, in my opinion, a much better theater than the Regal. And
It's like the AMC competitor. So
Right.
you got your AMC, which is nationwide. A lot of people do AMC. And then we have our Harkins, which is like Southwest. You get a couple in Texas, a couple in California, but mainly Arizona. It's an Arizona chain.
Yeah, but just so you know, if you're out there and you're listening, Harkins is superior to AMC, to Regal, to everything in every way. It's not super duper expensive. Showtimes every 30 minutes. Good popcorn. Like, it's a really good chain, and it's huge. They're gigantic theaters.
They're big.
They're cinema. They have like IMAX screens and Cine Caprice screens and HD. It's fuck AMC. I've always hated them, and Regal can literally lick it, especially after last night. Who the fuck serves Pepsi? Anyways,
That's the one thing he hated the most.
Smart individuals, apparently.
no, fuck Pepsi and fuck you. Why don't you pick up some boxes? Anyways, so
Yeah, that's I have another bone to pick with you,
I'm
right?
gonna
Since we're on the
scream that.
Pepsi thing,
Go ahead.
why am I in the Pepsi league in our fucking fantasy football?
Oh,
you know I'm a Coke man. Anyway, keep going. I looked at him like, what the fuck?
well, it used to be like
Yeah, I know. I get it.
politics related, so I just changed it.
Pepsi.
Yeah,
All right,
I
go
can
ahead.
put you back on the wall or
it's
fucking
fine.
Switzerland.
I think this is only my second time I've been to the Regal Theater, though, and
did
I
you
actually
see?
didn't. Well, we
Oh,
saw
Blockers.
Blockers on that
Blockers.
freaking release that
Yeah.
it was like before everybody else saw it, and we were
I'd
like,
never
"Oh,
been
this is a
there.
terrible fucking movie."
Yeah, it
But
was a
I
terrible
didn't think like the Regal Theater, other than the people, I didn't think the experience was that bad. I thought the seats were nice. I thought the theater was nice.
I actually agree with you.
You know, I mean, it was actually it was a nice setup. I don't know how the other theaters are because you know how every theater's got different sizes and stuff. But
Yeah, because that second viewing that we did was a smaller theater than the
Right.
first. But the problem is the first was still small, so every noise you could hear, even if you were being overly noisy, you could hear it because there was not a lot of people in our showing, and it was just so echoey, like it was just pure concrete.
Right.
I don't know what it was. It was weird.
I don't know why, because anytime I think about going to anytime we go to Cinemark or whatever, I'm always like, why don't I come here more? But then I realize it's like the Regal and Cinemark and stuff and AMC is where everyone takes their kids.
Oh yeah.
Like you don't see that with Harkins. I don't know why. Maybe that's because there's so many around.
We tend to go to a lot of late
Late
showings,
showings,
though. I mean,
yeah.
we're not going to anything before almost 9 o'clock.
I
in
thought
most
Regal had
cases.
great sound though. I thought their sound system was actually pretty good.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was actually one of the better
I wouldn't
sounding
mind
theaters.
going back because they're doing Dawn of the Dead in 3D, and I would love to see Dawn of the Dead in the theater. But
It's just I think those theaters they attract the weird people, man.
I'm just not a fan. Like it's not. It's just it was weird. Like the cashiers were weird. Everything was weird. What?
You had to go up to buy your hot dog and your movie ticket in
Yeah,
the same
and-
spot. And it's just it's a weird.
How was your
experience.
Nathan's hot dog?
Eh.
Was it better than the New Bevs?
No, New Bev's was good.
Yeah, it
New Bev's was way better than what I
know.
ate.
Nathan's is overrated. Don't come.
Well,
at me.
It is.
I mean,
It is.
this was a theater Nathan's, which was sitting on the roller for God knows how long, and a bun that was partly stale, so it had a little bit of a crunch to it.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I want a nice soft
and it
bun.
cost you like $12.
ugh.
That's for I looked at the menu and I'm like, I might get a drink, man. And I'm like, oh, $8 for a soda.
I
Yeah,
did
but
get
you
it.
see the size of his soda? It was like a 12-foot long tower of
they,
Mountain
they
Dew.
did they
or
did come
lemonade.
they did
got
come
Joel
with the
lemonade.
they did come with the size of it when they plunked it onto the counter.
Right.
Peel
But
off
I
last
still
night.
when I
It's a
can get the
two-hander.
same thing at a QT for like $1.69.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
I
like,
mean-
what are you marking up that much
Well,
for?
they
Come on.
have to because that's where they make their
That's
money.
where they
I
make their
know,
money.
but-
That's the only thing they make money on.
Fuck, man. I mean, people would buy so much more stuff if it was like somewhat affordable.
Please, no one's
I
going
don't know.
there
Who's
anyway.
paying an $8 soda?
I did. I made the $8 soda and I got the bucket of popcorn, which you gladly shared with me.
Because you were like, I'm not going to eat this bucket of popcorn by myself.
Hey, that's true. I don't mind sharing.
Didn't offer it to me.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I didn't think you're a fucking popcorn guy.
No.
I'll start ordering
I
two
think
popcorn.
you formed your opinion about my popcorn needs. Yeah, just stick it in your lap. And we'll just reach right in. When I was doing keto, I wasn't eating popcorn, and now that I'm a big fat mess right now, and I haven't really done anything to fix my
I'll watch
situation.
it later.
I'll
Therapy session.
I'll lose it later. I'll just eat some popcorn.
Oh, well,
So
my
tell
bad,
them how
dude.
you really feel.
No, I'm not. I don't want your popcorn. I'm just saying that's why you think I don't like popcorn.
'Cause-
I love popcorn.
This guy, me and Scott, we share popcorn constantly. That's like our thing.
You like that non-buttered popcorn he likes to get?
See, I'm one of those. I can go to the movie theater and I can not get anything. I can
Yeah,
just go
I'm the same
in.
way.
I can sit down. I watch a
I
movie.
gotta
and I
have
can
the
leave.
popcorn. I like popcorn with
Aaron
the movie.
has to get the popcorn.
I don't
and
think I've ever
soda.
been to a
So
movie where he hasn't gotten
yeah,
it.
so
That's something.
I always end up munching on his popcorn because he has it. And he's
That's
like,
why I bought him
he's like, eat
popcorn
some of
perks for
this.
Christmas one year. I
Yeah.
was like, I'm just gonna get him popcorn. He's gonna eat it.
Yeah, I can go
Gotta
in.
get used.
I can go in with nothing. I'm the guy that'll go to the store prior and like
I'll just
buy
buy, like-
bags of candy and
Yeah.
stuff to just stick in my pockets
Loud
and take
boxes
it in.
of Reese's Pieces.
Yeah.
I get that, man. But I'm just such a. It's synonymous to me.
know.
Movie, popcorn. I don't eat popcorn at home, but I would. I would definitely, eat popcorn at home. If
It's
I
very
wasn't
rare,
so
but
lazy to make it.
I know. I need to do the flavor call that we got
Yeah.
at the snack show. One of those that one time. It
But
was so good.
so we get the popcorn. I get the popcorn, the bucket O popcorn.
It was huge.
And the giant liter cola, and we head into
Fucking
Clerks
liter
3,
cola.
bro. And we fucking saw Clerks 3. And let me just explain to you something.
I knew it was coming though, just from the visuals of the people who were in there.
Oh,
I'm like, okay, this is a fan.
I'm gonna let Jordan tell
This is
that
a fan
part.
thing because I could see it. It
there's-
was all a bunch of 40-year-old men.
Yeah. Well, that's
which
the
is
point.
that's the group.
We got to think the
But-
first movie's 30 years old.
But
Yeah.
there's two opposite ends of 40-year-old men.
You're not wrong.
There's the guys like us that walk in here who are fans of it, and then there's the guys who are like the uber fans.
Yeah, the movies
could-
T-shirt wearing
Yes.
fucking
I
crazy. dude.
consider myself an Uber fan. Like,
Yeah, but you're not cosplaying as Kevin Smith to
True.
go watch his movies.
Yeah, you're
like
right.
that's
I would do that.
there's a different type of fan.
So, what I told Scott last night, and this holds true, is I watched the original Clerks. Like, I've seen it a million times, and it's hard for me to be
same.
like, oh, it's three different aspects of my life. But
I
it
got
really,
to see it in the theater.
I hate you for that.
I've never seen it either.
I will
Got
know
to see it in the
for
theater.
for a fact, like, I'll never forget where I found the movie Clerks. It was a VHS copy in the Walmart in Gulfport, Mississippi, my senior year of high school. And I was like, I've never even heard of this movie. But I had seen Dogma and Mallrats. I knew who Kevin Smith was, but I had never heard of Clerks. So I took that VHS home and I watched it. And then I watched it again.
I can't believe you saw that after Dogma.
And
Like,
then I
that's-
watched it
yeah.
again. Dogma was the first Kevin Smith movie I saw.
That's weird because mine was Mallrats, and then when working at Hollywood Video, then I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna watch Clerks because when you're working there, you got people telling you, oh, you gotta watch this. It's like Boondock Saints, this, Equilibrium. You gotta watch all these
Boondock
movies.
I don't
How
even
many
remember.
people
Clerks.
told you to watch Equilibrium?
Every
Hey,
fucking
man,
person.
did you see The
Did you see The
Matrix?
Matrix? Yeah. Oh, I got a movie that's better than The Matrix.
Just came out the same time
Same
as The
time,
Matrix.
and it just
but
got buried.
Yeah, it got buried. Yeah, this movie's incredible. Watch it. Then
I was
then
like, it was
turned-
great.
I don't even remember
not
how
The
I got
Matrix.
on to the Clerks thing because back then, I mean, we didn't have internet phones. I mean,
No.
yeah, we had internet, but it was like, I mean, this was in what, 94? I was
Yeah.
in high school, and I don't even remember. It was just like a chattering amongst friends
Mm-hmm.
of like, oh, this Clerks movie is playing. We should go watch it. And it was again only playing in like one theater.
Yeah.
And I think it was in like Tempe or something that we had to drive to go see this.
It was probably the one on Mill.
I was
like
just
the-
going to say the
Probably.
art house on Mill, the
Yeah.
Harkins
because
art
it was
house
like
on Mill.
showing. There was like 3 showings of it.
Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
we drove down there and we sat and watched Clerks, man. And I was like, for such a shitty movie that was filmed on one of those little freaking camcorders
Could've
that
been
you
like
get at
8,
Christmas
yeah.
time, I'm like, this was awesome. I'm
Yeah.
like, this is like one of the first like indie films that I actually enjoyed myself watching.
Because they talk like you talk.
Yes.
Or they talk like you want to talk. Like you want to have these conversations. You want to be.
These are guys you
quippy
wanna
and
hang
fun
around with.
Yes.
and be around.
And by that time, I had worked at Hollywood Video. I had worked at Walmart. And when I first watched Clerks, I was like, and this isn't hyperbole, and I don't want to just say this. I was like, oh, I'm Randall. Like, not even joking. Like, that's
I'm
me.
not gonna lie.
That-
Like
Yeah, we agree.
we all kind of think that
That's
about
the
ourselves,
character.
but watching it last night, yeah, you're right.
That's the character I'm most identified with. And I, for the longest time, I was like, nice. And I was like, Jordan just pulled out his Hollywood Video.
I'll bring my Blockbuster card.
I
I,
gotta
still
find
have
my,
it.
I still have my work shirt. I gotta go find it.
Oh, nice. But I mean, that was the character I most identified with, and I love Dante. Like, don't get me wrong, I think Dante is hilarious.
He's
and
the
incredible, but
backbone of the story.
He's the most cautious, though. I never.
Would you say he's the heart?
I'm the asshole.
Possibly.
I'm the guy who's like, well, I don't appreciate your ruse. You're cutting attempt to trick me.
I don't
Oh,
appreciate you
can't-
not helping me clean this fucking room I messed
Well,
up
you
before we
can't
record,
You can't
assholes.
shop here anymore. Like, that was totally me. That's always been my personality.
10 minutes ago.
We know.
Just asshole towards
Everything.
all my friends who I love. But yeah, so I've seen that. I've seen the original Clerks a million times, but I found that as I watched it through different periods of my life, I connected with it even more. Like, okay,
Or even differently.
yeah. So like when you're young, like, and you are working all those retail jobs, you're like, yes, dude, like,
Right.
fuck these customers and fuck all these people, and these are the types of problems I have, and these are the types of jokes I make. 37. That's something we would do. When I was a kid, we would fucking
You would suck 37 dicks?
we would make fun of people who sucking 37 dicks. And then I'll never forget Clerks 2 came out, and we went and saw it in the theaters. Ow, sorry. It's probably my heart attack coming on. Yeah, and then I saw Clerks 2, and I even identified more with Randall. There's a fucking scene at the end of that movie that's like, who would want to be my friend? I hate everything, and everything's stupid to me. So it's like, I'm like, holy shit. Like, so I've seen Clerks 2 just as many times as I've seen Clerks 1. And I've always had a soft spot for these movies. Kevin Smith, he doesn't make movies for everybody, but he definitely makes movies for me. And when I watch them, I'm like, I could do that. Like, but I can't because I can't write anything down. But
You just reminded me of I gotta start writing shit down.
so so when we went and saw this, it was like a culmination of like all these years of seeing like Kevin Smith films and watching Clerks. I think I saw Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back in the theaters like 9 or 10 times.
This is Kevin Smith's No Way Home.
Honestly, it really is.
It
And
is.
To me, it felt like such a period on those characters. Like if he never made anything else again, which we know he won't, but if he never did,
We're done.
I would be okay.
We're happy.
Like, I would be.
It's
super,
like, it would be a great way to end it. I mean, this would be the greatest way to end it, the way Quentin Tarantino wants to end his filmatic career.
Correct.
Like, end on a high note. End with something that wraps things up. You know, you started your career here. You're ending it here. The man drops dead tomorrow, I'll mourn him, but this will be the perfect way to end his career. Like,
Yeah.
it's just perfect.
I agree, and and I felt that in the theater last night, and I know you
Well,
technically didn't, and we'll get into that. But
Jordan felt many things.
I can't recommend it enough. It's about growing up and moving on, and it's about just the people you have around you when you're getting that age, and just
Well, I think part of it...
living life.
And I think part of it, even just in the terms of Dante, it's not realizing how good you have it till it's gone.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's one of
Yeah.
those things where, you've complained for 30 years that you're in this shit rut of a life, and then as the movie progresses and they're making this movie about Randall's life, he realizes this is his life too. He was by Randall's side this entire time, living these moments, having this time, enjoying things, having adventures, even if it was in the microscope of living inside this convenience store lifestyle. He didn't realize he had a good life. You know what I mean? Like, and it's that realization throughout this movie, and it's like it's such a great way to do it.
yeah.
And it's like, you fucking asshole, you had a great life. Like,
And it's I don't know, it hits home for me because I always remember when I was working at Hollywood or Walmart and stuff, and I was just like, when do I get to move on to something better? When do I get to... And I look back at those times fondly now, like,
oh, I still look back and go, God, I would kill to work a shift at like Blockbuster.
Yeah, to work
or Hollywood Video.
I was
and just,
robbed at gunpoint at Hollywood Video. And I think about it all the time, and it's now a hilarious anecdote
I
in
was
my
robbed
life.
at knife point at a Subway. That's
Nice,
weird.
yes.
Woo, we're assholes.
Criminals.
I was just given the note.
Ah, you got,
I didn't actually see a firearm.
got the old note.
I was
bit,
given the note on the counter. I have a gun. Give me the money. And I was just
and
like...
then you wrote a
was
note
this,
back. Let me
Albertsons?
see the gun, asshole.
I kind of looked and I just went like this and pushed it back over the counter. Thinking back now, I'm like, well, I was kind of an asshole.
Right, well, so, dude, I kind of did the same shit because they came in and the gun in my face,
Oh.
and I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to die tonight. And they were like, put the money in a Hollywood Video bag. They had those little baggies,
Right.
and I put my drawer in the bag, and
So
my
the
buddy...
thinnest plastic
Yeah,
ever.
my buddy Matt put his money in the bag, and they go, okay, clear out these 3 drawers, and they were the drawers that nobody
I can't
was
open
on.
this unless you rent something.
No, I looked at him and said, those drawers have already been counted down in the back. When I know good and well they hadn't been counted down in the back, but that's what we were supposed to tell everyone.
Right.
All
You
they would have had to
imagine if-
do
oh,
was
it's
say,
like,
pop
okay,
the
fine,
drawer.
let me see it, and then you're fucking dead man.
Right, and then my buddy Matt hadn't made any drops that night, so they got everything in the safe. 'Cause they knew, and I'm just sitting there thinking, and I thought back to it, like I've thought back to it 100 times. Like all they had to do was ask to open those drawers after I said that,
Oh, yeah.
and I would have died.
Yeah.
Like, and they did, yeah, they didn't kill me or anything. They left, and I think back about it all the time. I'm like, well, that was fucking crazy.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, he looks back at those times as that he had a terrible life and he could have done better. And like with you, I look back and like I say, like I remember I'm doing my job now, thinking I had such a great time working at like the video store and just talking movies and doing shit. And this is why it brought me to wanting, like when you said, hey, let's do a podcast. This is what I want. This is talk about movies, do shit like this. And if no one listens, no one listens. But this is the same shit I would always do after hours or even
Right.
during hours
And that's
talking about movies all the time.
That's
and
how
that's what I loved about it.
That's how I feel about podcasts as well. It's like, this is what I want to do with my friends, and this is a way to do it in close. And although Scott isn't as involved with movies and stuff, I still enjoy having these conversations with him because Scott is very much like, it's okay to everything on the planet. So, yeah, I can take it or leave it. Like, what? It's like, all right, dude. So we've had to kind of get him out of his shell, but
So I'm here to balance the seesaw.
He's definitely seen some things that I don't think outside of this he would have ever like traveled towards. So I think this is
But I mean,
doing good and bad to him in some way.
Thinking about me now, obviously, it's like sitting down and watching movies it's time. It takes a lot of time to do that, and sometimes you just don't want to sit down and start something knowing that you're not going to be fully invested in it.
Yep.
And that's how I
I've done
feel like
that.
a lot right now. But I mean, thinking about all the stories that I've told about all the movies that I've seen in theaters and this and that, I mean, you would almost think that that's two different people.
Well, you seeing Clerks at all just baffles me as far as being to see it in a theater because I never got to see it until I was working in Hollywood Video, and that was after high school. So,
Yeah.
97, 98, I'm sitting there finally seeing Clerks for the first time, and that thing came out 4 or 5 years prior. This motherfucker went and saw it in a theater. You know what I mean? Like, he either went on Mill or he went to Scottsdale. Those were the two.
I mean,
probably
we
that
were,
played the indie
but
things.
in the group that I was in, that we were kind of all watching these movies because at the time it was the same thing. Like Kevin Smith's name was being tossed around, Tarantino was starting out.
Yeah,
I mean,
Pulp
we
Fiction
were
was
getting a
big in
lot
high
of
school
stuff.
for
I
me.
mean, at that same time, I can remember like Jackie Chan had just come over to the U.S.
Super Cop.
Super Cop.
Rumble in the Bronx.
We went and
Like,
saw
great
freaking Rumble in the Bronx in the theater. I saw El Mariachi in the theater. All these movies
Yeah.
we saw in the theater, man. And it was like, I mean, that was just, I mean, I got to see a lot of that stuff when it was coming out. And now it's just, I think everything is just so flooded now because they're just movies.
every week.
You
Like, I
got
can't keep up
streaming
sometimes.
services. You got theaters. It's a lot different now for
Remember-
me than it was back then.
remember last week when I was talking about like Make America Great Again?
That was it.
I'm that's the kind of stuff
I
I
could go
talk-
back to it.
That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I miss the blockbuster, not everything being a fucking superhero movie, like discovering new directors. And
Well, and here's the thing. Like, I know there's a place for superhero movies.
Yeah,
and
no,
I
I'm not
enjoy
shitting
all
on
that stuff,
superhero
but
movies.
it's very rare we get a thing like Barbarian where it's like, where did this come from? Holy shit, this is amazing.
I think
You know what I mean?
we have too much. We have too much now.
I really
honestly, I
honestly
think we
kinda
do.
think
We
that,
have
too.
way too much. We've got every streaming service possible at our fingertips. You've got now theaters that like people they won't even release movies to the theaters anymore. They just send them straight to your house.
Well,
You
not
know,
even that.
so
Like, for
it's-
me, it used to be where when you saw a movie in the theater, there was a good probably almost 12 months before you'd ever see it on a video cassette, let
Yeah.
alone
And
Blu-ray
he-
DVD.
even if it
And now
was-
they're coming out within literally 2 months of release. So it gives you no license to care to go to the theater. It's not an experience anymore for the masses. Like, I still love going, and I talk about this a lot. Like, last night, I loved watching the movie. The experience of the movie pissed me off,
Yes.
and we'll get into it, but the movie itself, the sound, the big screen, being there with friends, that was great to me.
Yeah, and I know, and like you said, we'll get into it, but I could feel the anger radiating off of you.
Radiating.
So, and my thing is I can ignore that stuff because
To a point, I can't.
I know, but I'm just saying I can ignore that stuff because the experience is so much fun. But pretty much everything you guys said, like, it's just I miss it. I miss it more than anything. I'm sad that my kids will never experience it. In fact, I do that a lot now. I drive by places. My kids will never know what a blockbuster is. My kids will never know what it was like going.
Is it weird going
to
by
Hollywood.
places where you like know there used to be one, or
Or
like
s-
one that you used to work at?
Yeah.
Like, I drove by going to my mom's to go to the football game last week, and we drove up Gilbert Road. And at Gilbert and Baseline, I look over, and it's like a mattress store now.
Yeah,
and I'm looking
I
at
worked
it going,
that Hollywood video as
I
well.
worked at that one too.
Well, I worked at the Game Crazy filling in, but I was friends with the people on the other side.
yeah.
So I'd be over there all the time. But it's just, I don't know, man. I miss all of that. I don't hate what we become because progress is the way of life and it's
Yeah,
how
that's-
society continues. But at the same time, I just want my kids to experience it. They'll never experience it. They'll never know what it's like not to have every movie at the tip of their fingertips or to walk into this room and be like,
Now I
Not-
can't.
not
I
your
can't-
kids.
I can't even. Everything's at their fingertips. Yeah. I can't even choose what to watch anymore
and I think
because I'm flipping through shit in 1,000 hours, and
There's
then
too many options.
then I just settle on something I've seen because like, I don't know.
Right.
How many times do you spent a good 15 to 20 minutes just scrolling through Netflix trying to find
Netflix,
something?
Hulu, Paramount
and I think
Plus.
the reason
I
I
just don't
hang
know what
on
to
so
do.
hard to this stuff
Oh, you
is
have to.
because, and I don't want this next part to sound bad, but watching movies almost feels like a chore now. Like, okay, I need to watch so many movies so we have something to talk about on the show. But it almost feels like, okay, it's a chore. Like it's no long, it's still enjoyable. I still very much enjoy watching movies, but it does not feel the same anymore.
When it becomes homework, it's hard. Like, I don't mind the movies we choose,
but when you're
it's
trying to
wanting
watch
to
other
fill
things,
the other time,
yeah.
and I'm sitting there going, okay, I have to watch this and this. Oh, you watch this? Well, then I have to watch it because then we can bounce ideas off of each other. Or if like,
and it almost feels like
that's part of why I went to the second movie with you guys because like, if this guy is going to stay awake past 9 o'clock to watch it, I have to do it because then now I'm the odd man out that decided to go home and not watch Pearl.
I don't care if you hated that movie. I will talk about it next week, but I don't care if you hated it. But
we'll get into it.
Yeah, I just that's pretty much it, and that's how I feel. The original Clerks encapsulates everything. Like it encapsulates that time, my feelings, and then bring it all the way to Clerks 3, and it's almost like living your life. Like you grew up with these characters,
30
and now
years.
they're
30 years of knowing these characters.
So did you know anything going into this?
negative,
about
and I
okay,
didn't look at
okay.
anything. I think they released a second trailer. I didn't even watch
Because
it.
we got at the beginning of the movie, you get Kevin Smith comes on and he's talking about it, and he's talking about how he started this movie, he's this and that, and this is like the trifecta. This is the final Clerks. This is the closing, and I'm like, how are they going to close this? Like, how are they going to end this to where there's no more movies? And boy, do they fucking end it.
I really don't want to give anything away.
Yeah,
because it's really hard to see right now. And if you're listening to this,
We can touch into spoiler territory on the next episode. This episode, since it's coming out prior to the end of the run, I say let's just be very vague.
Well,
Go see this movie and support it.
I welted up, man.
I almost
cried.
cried.
Dude, I fucking
I almost
like
cried.
3 times.
The tears came forward.
There was a moment, and a line was said, and I'm just like, that did it.
Yep.
This fucking waterworks.
So
I'm not even supposed to be here today.
Yes.
if you grew up with these movies and you have any semblance of like fondness to these movies at all,
I quote
this
first
movie.
like,
This movie will just hit you right in the freaking feelings, man.
Yeah.
It is, and I'm not super hardcore on like the movies, but I know enough. I mean, I've seen them. I'm not like super fan, but I mean, dude, this it was a gut wrencher, man.
It had
fan
way more
Kevin Smith.
heart.
Not like you guys.
Not like a
You
super
went with me to see a Q&A with us.
Yeah.
We went to the movies.
We
pop-up.
did. We went to
Right.
the movies pop-up.
Do you think on my own I would have gone to any of those?
Could you imagine?
No.
Hey, where were you today, Scott? I can't do the show today.
I
I'm
went
going
to
to the
the
movies
movies.
pop up.
Well, the funny
Movies
thing
pop up.
is I'm actually going to the Clerks 3 Roadshow.
I may actually end up going.
Please
now.
go.
I want to try. It's like $50.
Yes, I got
Okay, I would clarify. It's $50 to get in. It's still like $40 for drinks because you gotta buy drinks.
You can buy the endless soda for $15.
Yeah.
But I got the meet and greet.
Did you get the VIP?
I'm meeting Kevin Smith. Like that is a goat. Like not a goat, a fucking bucket list item.
Yeah.
And I've wanted to meet him forever. You get to meet him, a signed copy of the Clerks 3 script, and like a lanyard. But I'm gonna try to get him on the podcast.
I was gonna say I have my.
You hear that, people? You hear that?
But yeah, I watched Clerks 2 leading up to this. I watched it the other day. I forget how funny that one really is. Like you almost forget about it because Clerks is such a great movie. Clerks 2, it's like okay, it was good, it was fun. Then the more you watch it, the more you realize like you can't have that first one without this one because it's just so
bonkers.
good.
Yeah.
And then after watching this, I'm just like, this is how you do the perfect trilogy. Like almost every trilogy has something wrong with it in some way. This is just perfect for me. Like I find no fault in it.
Yeah.
And there are a few things that maybe I would have done different, but it's not my fucking movie. Who cares? I'm an idiot.
Elias in the third one is annoying.
No, Elias was a fucking
He was funny.
hilarious in the third one.
I thought he was hilarious, but
I
was
laughed
like,
every time he came on screen in a different fucking outfit or makeup. I just wanted to slap my knee, but I thought it would ruin the experience for other people.
Why don't you go ahead and get into that?
So we go to Clerks. Very excited. We're all excited. I understand everyone's excited for this. The people who are going to this are going to be fans. No one's just popping up to the theater going, "Oh, Clerks 3, I'll go pop into this movie." No, this is
Never heard of that one.
This is an event, and this is at the theater, tucked between a church and a closed down deli that no one knows exists over there. So you're going to have to go out to find this. So
Autism
people
deli.
went. Yeah, to the autism next to me. So we go into the theater. We're sitting there, and Scott's on one end, Aaron's in the middle. I'm on next to Aaron.
I like to ski.
Well, he's like, I'll sit here. I'm like, you idiot. We're both going to want to talk to you. Sit in the middle.
You could have sat in the middle.
I know. I fucked up.
Yeah.
This is my fault. So, we go in, we sit down, we're just hanging out. They're doing the little pre-show stuff. Nothing too crazy. The Regal pre-show is the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
Ever.
Retarded.
But we're just all kind of hanging out.
Say that?
And
Oh, we said it a bunch already.
trust me, I want to bring up autism and retardedness in just a minute. So there's a guy by himself. Chuckles the Clown, I like to call him. Sitting about 4 seats over next to me on my left. We're watching this movie, and not 3 seconds into this movie, this dude's already laughing at the View Askew logo and clapping. And I'm like, this is not happening to me.
It is.
And I just let it go.
happening.
I let it go. You're excited. We're all excited. We're so happy to be here. Aaron, woke up and immediately started texting, it's Clerks Day, and we're all happy. We can't wait.
I was so
This
excited.
This guy jumped off his AOL chat,
This guy logged off of Netscape,
threw
off
his mandals on.
threw his mandals and his weird pants, and he pulled his greasy long hair into a ponytail, and he got his unlimited Regal soda, and he was sitting next to me, and he would laugh so incredibly loud at everything.
The weird, like the most
Not even-
quietest parts.
Everything. It could have been, like I said, the View Askew logo. And he bothered me so much. He's clapping and hitting
That
his
fucking
knee
clapping was
and hitting
driving me
his
bananas.
chair. And this isn't just like, oh, yeah, that's awesome. Like one clap, let's enjoy a movie.
The
No,
knee
this guy
slapper.
was like, okay, this is it. Wrap the movie up. This is the best thing I've ever seen. No.
He thought it was Caddyshack.
The whole time. You would have thought this was the greatest movie he's ever seen. He's never been to a movie theater, and this is the first time he's been let out of the basement.
For real. Like, he did not have any social skills.
None.
because
Well, he saw 2 movies that night.
So then he's
alone.
just alone.
I wonder why nobody wanted to go with him.
Her ears would hurt. I was 4 seats away, and this guy. So I'm just like gritting my teeth, and I'm saying little things under my breath, hoping he'll hear me and get the hint. But
Oh no,
not,
I could
not
hear
one
him.
bit.
I could hear him 2 seats away. I could hear Jordan talking shit 2 seats away.
Like, why don't you fucking clap
Yeah.
more? Or, yeah, that's really fucking hilarious, isn't it? Or just like everything I can to without getting up and just punching dude in the face. And it's by far the worst theater experience I've ever had. For quite possibly one of the best movies I got to see this year. Like that, it's
Yeah.
such a
It's like
weird
when you get
juxtaposition where it's like, this guy ruined an experience for me, but I still enjoyed the movie. Whereas,
Right.
like in most cases, like it takes me so far out that I don't want to be a part of it. And this guy was quoting lines before the lines would happen in some of the parts where they're filming the original Clerks, and then he would quote the lines after they said them on the movie because they were the funniest things he'd ever heard. And he was clapping, and he was just hitting his knee. And at one point, I showed a
Get to
picture to Aaron of Robert De Niro in Cape Fear just laughing and smoking his cigar.
That was
and
in Pearl.
Oh, that was in Pearl because he
Yeah.
was still doing it because he came to that movie with us and sat in the same row, 4 seats over in the same row alone.
If you listen to this guy,
And I made
you were
Scott, so I
alone.
was like, I'll take this bullet for you, and he sat on that side instead. Didn't help. Could still hear that guy laughing in the horror movie Pearl.
Yep.
Laughing. There's no funny parts in that movie. Not laugh out loud funny. Oh my god.
But at
worst
least
experience.
the kids got gone.
Yeah,
that was crazy.
That'll be part 2 of our
Yeah,
lovely
part
night at
2
the
next
Regal
week.
in Gilbert.
Yeah, we'll get to that next week.
But yeah, he was possibly the worst. Because I've been in movie theaters where someone's had Tourette's. Like, I went and saw a movie and someone had Tourette's like a seat away from me, and I didn't know at first. And this guy was like, like doing stuff. And at one point, I leaned forward, do that thing where you go, and you just you do the look back, and you're thinking that's gonna be enough to shut this guy up. I look back, and this guy is stone faced, just staring at the screen, and then you can see him, and I'm like, oh shit! I was about to yell at like a guy with Tourette's. Like I would have felt really bad.
And the one thing I know about Jordan and his brother is they will fight people in the theater. We went and saw John Wick 3. And
Oh god, that guy and his son in the back behind
and
us.
you were like, "You're not at your house.
Like,
you're at a fucking movie.
I was
and I'm like,
pissed.
I was just sitting there
Like, you don't come to the movies to chatter and talk to your friends.
Yeah.
Go home.
If you can make
fuckers.
if you can make Aaron feel uncomfortable by yelling
Dude,
at people,
we have done it.
Yeah.
We've made Aaron feel
dude,
uncomfortable
I
in
don't
front of
li-
people.
The one thing that makes me red face and will get me to hide is scream at somebody in the theater.
I think
because
Aaron was waiting for me to do it because he was almost bracing during
I
Clerks
was.
3.
I was
He's like, oh God, Jordan's.
I kept
he could
patting
feel
him
the
on
heat.
the back, and I could feel. I felt like he was going to say something, and then I'm like, oh, you can't yell at this guy for laughing, dude. Like it's on comedy.
That's the line. Like he's enjoying himself, but
Yeah.
there's a point where you have to realize there is a social contract you're taking on when you're coming to these. Where maybe laugh a little bit, but gauge the room. If you're
I
laughing
agree.
and it's echoing off the fucking soundproof
Yeah, I
walls,
agree.
you're laughing a little too hard. Calm it down, Chuckles.
Right. No, I totally agree. And what I hate the most is that we're the only ones that ever seem to notice. You know what I mean? Like nobody
Everybody
else.
else was just like
Everybody else
whatever.
is like whatever. Yeah. And but I can feel it. Like
I'm
I
like
can.
fashioning a shiv
mean,
out
the-
of like popcorn bits.
the other guy next to me couldn't hear it over the fucking ringtone of his phone
Oh,
going
right,
off all the
going
time.
off all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, the old Nokia one. Like,
Yeah.
like does that anyone have that
I
ringtone
want to
anymore?
go. I really want to see it again, but like
I want to see it again.
I don't want to go to the theater to see.
This is going to be one of those rewatchable movies that you can throw in and you're going to want to watch
I was talking
all
to,
three movies.
I was talking to somebody else about it, and they were like, "We haven't even fucking got to our movie yet. Just do a double header on
That's
the next
good.
one." And we were talking about the movie, and he goes, "Yeah, like it's one of those ones where I kind of literally want to go tomorrow and rewatch this movie."
I was thinking,
and it's
We can go
spoiler
tonight.
alert, it's a little depressing, and it really hits you in the heart. But it's one of those where you want to watch it, right?
yeah.
And it's just, I don't know, man. It's so good.
well,
Like,
it's you've created a bond with these characters
So
over
much.
so many movies, and even in the Jay and Silent Bob movies, because these guys are they're around. These are characters that you latch onto. You have feelings for, and then to kind of get serious, it kind of gets you. It chokes you up.
Yeah, there was something that happened at the beginning where he walks into the quick stop and you see what's her face's picture and you see what it says, and I'm sitting there going, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
And it's 3 minutes in.
Becky.
You're like,
Rosario
"Shit."
Dawson.
You're like, "Oh shit."
So
This is how this is gonna go.
Yeah.
Like, oh damn it.
So what did you give it? I gave it a 4. I thought it was pretty great. I'm gonna ask him, and the thing I don't want to spoil this for you guys, and I'm not going to, but I will say this. I'm gonna ask why not the happiest of endings, like why he decided to do that with the characters.
So
I don't
in-
think there was any other way you could do it, man. I don't think it was a ride off into happiness.
Well, I'm just gonna ask.
Yeah, it was just.
But
I think it worked out well.
I do like the ending, but at the same time, I'm just like, why would you do that? Why
Yeah.
would you leave that one alone and take that one or
Because you
whatever?
have to. Because that one is the immature, feels like he's got everything
now
in the
we're
world.
ruining
And,
it.
no, we're not. No, it's just it's one of those things where storytelling and that way it makes sense. Like it really did make sense to me. I didn't want it to happen,
Right.
but it makes sense.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff you see in the trailers.
Yeah,
I mean,
there was a part where they're filming their movie and the guy's holding a gun to Dante and he's like, "Wait, you're gonna kill me off in the third act?" It's like, "Yeah. Well, what if we get a sequel? What am I, a hack?" Apparently, that was going to be the original ending of the Clerks.
It was, and everybody
And-
knows that.
Yeah,
if you read
but-
there was a Clerks 10-year anniversary DVD. I know, everyone relax.
Oh, fuck it.
But that
Was it the
came
big
out.
double box?
Yeah, and
I
it
had
had the
that.
X on it.
Yeah, I have that.
It has the original ending on it.
Yeah,
It has it in a
storyboard, or it was like
a storyboard or
behind
a
the scenes or
script
something,
form.
yeah.
Yeah. So, and I always knew that, and I was like, oh, I like that they didn't do that.
right. Well, and then you hear things like with O'Halloran talking about they did that table read of this movie, and they're like, "No, the table read we did before they cleaned up the script was way darker than this." I'm like, "How the fuck do you get darker than what just happened?" And I
Right.
watched, and I'm like, now I want to know everything about that.
I really wish I would have been. I mean, one day I'll go to New Jersey, but I would have, because it happened at the Kevin Smith Secret Stash in Jersey. They had this table read. It was like a 3-hour thing. Everybody was there, and they just sat and read the script. And it wasn't the script that we saw. It was
No.
a completely different script. And they talk about it in World of Kevin Smith on Facebook all the time, but I'm just like, damn. And so, I don't know. Anyways,
I get a 4.
yeah.
It's great.
What'd you give it, Scott?
I mean, I'd probably be right about 4.5. I mean,
Yeah,
it's like,
alright.
it's not exactly like what I would call.
It's a good story.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good story. it kind of, like I mentioned before, it's like his No Way Home, man. It was like bringing all the characters back for that final finale. And, I mean, he just, it was good. I enjoyed it.
It gives me hope for things like when I hear he's kicking around Mallrats 2.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Remember a couple years ago, everyone had signed on from all
It
that
was supposed
and
to,
then they just went.
They even
the way
did
of the
location
dodo.
scouting. And,
But I heard that had a lot to do with the Weinstein stuff,
oh, I'm sure.
and that's why you can't get Dogma right now.
I mean, we got a few Mallrat references in this one.
Well, I mean, it's all in the View Askew universe. So, I mean, it's all part of it. I mean,
saw
Rick
some
Derris
guy-
gets brought up.
I saw some guy on TikTok that's like, "Did you know in Mallrats, they reference stuff in Clerks?" It's like, yes, we did. Please kill yourself.
It's set in the fictional town of Leonardo, you idiots.
Well,
I even have the cartoon.
You know, doing the readings, and what's his name? Ethan
Suppley.
Ethan Suppley. You know, he
Who I've
shouts out
argued
the
with on
boat
Twitter.
thing. Oh, yeah?
Many years ago.
Before he lost all the weight and became like some jacked fucking
Yeah.
weightlifter.
I could
Good
see
for
the
him, man.
sailboat.
Yeah, that was funny. Fuck yes.
All right. Hey, Jordan, you did a movie this week. What was it?
I don't even talk about it anymore. So much content.
All the content. This is I'll watch it later. We have all the content. Are you bored yet? Don't be bored, because we got
Wait
more
until
content.
next week. You'll be bored.
I'm just waiting. I'm waiting until you're done. So this week, my movie choice was the 1988 baseball drama about the 1919 World Series and the White Sox, who were later named the Black Sox because of the controversy, 8 Men Out.
We're gonna see the Sox.
Baseball, 1919. There were no free agents, no million-dollar salaries, but there was a team no one could beat. The true story of the team they called the Black Sox, and the scandal that broke the heart of a nation.
I want to make the plays. I don't feel right.
You can't welch on these guys.
After you gone and left me crying.
They were an American dream come true, the best that ever were. 9 men took the field, but when the game was over, there were 8 men out.
What do you think of these players of yours now, Mr. Gleason?
I think they're the greatest ball club I ever seen, period.
Don't you forget it.
8 Men Out, written for the screen and directed by John Sayles.
It sucked. 2.5. All right, guys. We'll see
No,
you
that's
next
the next
week.
movie.
Actually, you know that they were dubbed the Black Sox before this.
Really?
Because Comiskey, being so cheap,
Oh, that guy.
he would not wash the uniforms every time they played.
because they were
So,
dusty and dirty. all
Because
the
he
time.
wanted to save money. So teams started nicknaming them the Black Sox
Gotcha.
because they had like smelly uniforms.
Yeah, so this takes
Trivia.
place back in the time where baseball, they had all these different clauses in people's, in their contracts where they couldn't really negotiate prices. They really couldn't negotiate their contracts, and they couldn't leave to go to another team because they would be penalized. So they were kind of at the mercy of all these owners, and the owners were cheap as shit. And one of the worst ones to be as cheap as he was Comiskey, who ran the White Sox. And the basic premise of the story is that the players are getting shafted so much, and they're playing their hearts out. They're the team to beat. They have been unstoppable. They're getting underpaid, and one of the players kind of starts hatching a scheme to tank the World Series, bet with the the Cincinnati Reds. And
It was kind of a double whammy. It was
yeah.
one to kind of get back at Comiskey for being such a cheap ass.
right, and make some cash.
Yeah, and then on the other hand, they're like, we can make some money by throwing the game.
Right. So they kind of start hatching this scheme, and then all these like big time, gangster type betting types start getting in on the action, and they start to kind of talk some of the other players into doing it. And they get Eddie, who was their pitcher, hot pitcher, like constantly doing
he's
great.
really good looking.
He was, so pretty.
What?
Hot.
Oh, come on, pay attention.
I am
You listening to
paying
your
attention.
show?
Yeah, but that's why I was like,
The
what?
fucking buzzing in my
He was
ear.
like hot pitcher.
I know.
Come on, catch up.
And he was the guy that if they can get on board, they can get a lot of other people. He was very well respected. So he goes up, talks to Comiskey, and says, "Hey, look, you said if I, win 30 games, I'm gonna get a $10,000 sign-on bonus or whatever." And the guy goes, "How many games you play?" And the other guy was like, 29. He goes, well, 29 ain't 30. And fucks him out of $10,000 because he intentionally benches him for like 2 weeks. And
to save him for the playoffs.
Yeah, well, to save him for the playoffs and to miss out on like 8 starts. So in that time, he fucked him over. And so he had more drive to make that money. So they kind of talk him into it. And over the course of time, they get 7 players to kind of throw the games. And that's kind of where the story kind of leads out.
Eight, because it's 8 men out.
Well,
no.
There's 8 men that got banned, but there was really only about 4 of those guys that really did it. Because you have, like, the Joe Jackson story, which is like a whole nother story on itself, where the guy, he kind of got penalized for really not doing anything.
He played. He
played, but
everybody else.
But because he took the check, and because he took the cash, he got lumped into that whole thing.
Right.
But yeah, it's there. A lot of the rules that came out of this are still prevalent in today's sporting industry.
That's the first time they ever started up the commissioner for baseball. They set up all the rules and betting. But yeah, 6 of the players kind of actively participated in this. 2 of them got lumped in with it. Joe Jackson, like you said, and then Buck Weaver, which is. You don't think the story is really about him until about halfway through, and then they really start focusing on him. Yeah, John Cusack plays Buck Weaver, and he knows about the plot to do it, but he doesn't really participate. And they lump him in because he knew but didn't snitch on his little group.
Yeah.
And so he kind of gets lumped in, he gets banned, and it's a whole thing. I love how many people are in this movie. There are some names.
Dad.
Yeah, Frazier's dad, John Mahoney. You've got old Doc Brown, who wasn't in it as much as I thought it would be.
Scott!
Yeah, John Cusack. You've got a
go
lot
back
of.
to the future, Marty.
Going back to yeah, maybe they would have done it if they would have had the World Sports Almanac.
Don't bet on the Black Sox, Marty. They're going to throw the games.
What did you think?
Dude, it's baseball. You guys have some kind of weird boner for baseball. Thought it was interesting. I didn't think it was anything other than that. Don't care about this movie whatsoever.
Wow.
Doesn't mean it's a bad movie. I watched it. I just...
When you can't just get behind like...
I'm just not interested in baseball, man. And I know that's...
history.
I understand. I get it. I liked how many people were in it. I loved that. I liked Christopher Lloyd. I liked Cusack. I thought Cusack was excellent. Roker was good.
Al Roker. That's right.
Michael Rooker.
Michael Rooker.
Whatever.
Imagine Al Roker. What are you doing here? It's 1919. Get back over there.
I thought the story was compelling, but surface level, I had no interest in the subject material, and it's like when we talked about it a little bit earlier, it becomes homework. So I watched it open-mindedly, but at the end of the day, I was like, I don't care. So that's not going to affect my score. I just being honest.
Well, see, here's the thing. Admittedly, I'm not a baseball fan. I'll play softball, but I don't fucking follow baseball. I can care less about baseball as a sport, but I enjoy history. And
I enjoy history,
and that's why with the second movie, there are things that I like about it because of that.
I
but
like
in
the
this
baseball
one,
stuff. The second half of this movie is fucking.
It's not even
it's
half.
a courtroom.
Like, it gets
drama, and I got incredibly.
Well, that's where it hit
interested.
a wall. Like,
yeah.
It hit a real wall right there because then it's just slowed down. And it was like the last 30 minutes, and it felt like the last hour.
So the baseball stuff is good. Like, I don't hate all baseball films. Like, I love A League of Their Own and stuff like that. But give me more baseball because honestly, it just I didn't. Once they got to the courtroom and all this other stuff, and all these people were lying and stuff, I was just like, okay, like, wrap it up. Like, why is this 2 hours? Like, we get it. We know what's gonna happen. We know they're gonna get cleared, and then, but never be able to play baseball again, type of thing. And I just, it just didn't do anything for me as a movie. It wasn't a bad movie. It was well made. It had a really good cast. It was very strong.
The music.
It just didn't. It was just like, okay, I already know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, but you can still enjoy movies where you can know the history of it. Like, for me, it was neat because...
But you just said the history.
Well, yeah, and
why are you arguing with me?
A lot of people went and saw Titanic.
That boat's gonna fucking sink. Fuck
What?
this
The
movie.
boat sink?
I don't consider Titanic a good movie.
No, well, that's a different subject. I like things that give me more to a story that I didn't know about. Like, I honestly, for the life of me, didn't know Joe Jackson was part of this because I didn't really know a lot about the controversy.
You saw Field of Dreams, right?
Yes, and that's where I'm sitting there going, Shoeless Joe Jackson.
Yeah. Oh,
and then
it makes
apparently,
sense.
Rooker's character was also that baseball player was also in Field of Dreams.
Yep.
Like him and Shoeless Joe Jackson were playing. In
Well,
the big game.
it was the 8 guys from
Yeah,
that got
and
banned
it
that
was just-
got called back to the field.
Yeah, and it was just like it never really put 2 and 2 together, and I was just like, okay, that's neat. And to learn about this, it's not even so much that the movie gave me everything I wanted. It gave me enough to where it's like I really kind of want to know about it, and I started digging around, and it really was very interesting what happened and how it happened, and just overall the history of it. Because like for me, I like a good sports movie. Sports movies are generally usually pretty fun. I hate golf. I love Tin Cup. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I can get past the hatred of a sport and enjoy a movie for what it is.
And that's not what I'm saying.
You said, I hate baseball. Fuck your movie.
No, that's not what I said.
I heard it.
What I was trying to say is like,
Dub me over
I
that.
don't find it. I just didn't find it. It wasn't entertaining to me. The courtroom drama just wasn't entertaining to me.
Well, that's fine.
See,
it was like the last 30 minutes.
I love the history of baseball. I mean, when I was younger, maybe 14, 15, I got to go to the Baseball Hall of Fame. I got to go to all,
Wow.
see
I
all
went to
that
the World
stuff.
Series in 2001.
Yeah,
like
I
could
mean,
still
stuff like that.
enjoy
It just,
things.
you go to like the Hall of Fame and you see there's a locker with Babe Ruth's uniform hanging in the freaking locker.
Yeah.
I mean, stuff like that is like, to me, I'm like, oh, this is so cool. This movie, and knowing the things that I know about the movie, and as you start to do a deep dive on it, this movie just kind of brushes over everything. It brushes over because the betting actually really started months out, where they were already chattering about this. The movie seems like they kind of just were like, hey, let's throw the game.
Right.
We'll throw the games and be good with it. Well, by the time they started really getting to the World Series, the bets already started swinging towards the Reds because the chatter was already that they were going to throw this game.
Making the
because
odds all
they couldn't
wacky.
keep it quiet. And
that was one of the lines in the movie. He's like, don't tell these guys. By the time they hear it, shit's going to go down, and all of a sudden the fucking odds are going to go one way and ruin everything we're trying to build toward. And it's like...
yeah. So, I mean, it's definitely, it does make you want to do a deep dive. I think the subject is very interesting when it comes to baseball and how it changed
changed
the
everything.
rules going forward forever, man. I mean, it's like it changed the betting rules. It changed how, I mean, obviously we got a commissioner. We've got,
Do you play baseball?
Play
Yes.
softball. It's
We.
baseball
Yes.
adjacent.
Oh, yeah, no.
baseball is America's pastime. It's all of our sports.
You don't? What do you don't like America?
I hate it.
Oh, well, write that down. We got it. Yeah, I love the history. I mean, the classic history of baseball I'm into. Like, I like knowing that kind of stuff. Just because I don't follow the sport, and I'm especially not into it now because it's like with basketball. You don't.
It's too much.
You just can't keep track of everybody.
There's a lot.
Like you never have like when we watch this or we watch the next movie, these players stayed with teams for 10 years. You can
What?
build.
Next week's another fucking baseball movie?
Shut up. Don't. You're ruining the doubleheader.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Way to blow that load all over the table.
Man, it's just we had it. And you ruined it. Anyway, I love that the people could rally around things like Murderers Row, and there's history to it. Nowadays, you don't get that. I can care. I don't know. I couldn't name one fucking Diamondback. It's a hometown team. I don't know who the fuck is on it. Like, I just don't care enough.
Groovy
This game-
McTurd 5.
No, he's on the bench. But little things like that, and I'm kidding. Fuck if I know. But I really dig the history of this, and I liked it for that. And I didn't, like you said, it's not a bad movie. I didn't think it was particularly the greatest movie in the world. That's Field of Dreams, but
I like Field of Dreams, and I've seen Field of Dreams. I just
Sandlot.
to this, yeah,
I love
Sandlot's
baseball
awesome.
movies.
I just, to me, this was just such a puzzle piece in the greater pantheon of sports movies. It didn't do anything for me. I just didn't care. And maybe, I don't know, maybe it's the Headspace thing. I'm not shitting on you for it. I just didn't care. So
Shitting on America. I get it.
I liked your movie. I just didn't.
kidding. I don't care.
I didn't think it
Like
was,
it or not, I enjoyed it.
I just didn't think it was particularly important or special in any way.
I think it's important because I don't think I remember seeing any other movies that touch on that subject. Like,
ya?
I'll have to look around, but
I'm sure there's
I don't know.
ESPN 30 on 30.
Oh, I'm
or
sure,
something.
but you don't see a lot of movies about that. They're a lot of the times people like to gloss over controversy and they don't really talk about it too much. And, especially when it comes to America's pastime. And, that was neat seeing something that touched on that. And it was, it's the second movie set around 1918, 1919 that we saw this week. And it made me so incredibly happy.
So what'd you give it?
For me, I'm giving it about a 3. I mean, it's better than most movies I've seen. It's not the greatest movie in the world, but I really did enjoy the content, and it did make me look up more things about baseball than I think I've looked up in a very long time, and I enjoyed it. So
Baseball it up, bro. What did you give it, Scott? A 5?
No, I'm this one's probably about a 3.5. I think it's one of the better baseball movies. There's ones out there that are better. Obviously, we've touched on them. I enjoy baseball movies, man. Do
you?
Yeah, I do. I like sports. I like baseball movies. I like things that have the history behind them. It's, that's kind of my thing, man. So
even though it was
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Even though it was a dramatization, like it did something in this movie that I had to look up, where they make a play in the outfield and it's 3 outs, you're up. They would drop their gloves in the field and then walk off. And I'm sitting there going, wait, why'd you leave your fucking glove out there? Apparently they used to do that.
Yeah.
Back in the day, they used to just leave their shit out in the field, and then people were getting hurt stepping on fucking gloves. They're like, pick your shit up and bring it into the dugout. That was like a legit thing for years. And I couldn't believe I saw that, and I thought it was a flub. And it turns out that was like an accurate thing that they would do. They would just drop their gear in the fucking field.
There's a lot of weird things about old baseball. They were all smokers and drinkers, and they would drink in the dugout and smoke in the dugout.
Babe Ruth.
It's like these guys are all health conscious, and they have like
green smoothies.
Like they're dietitians and trainers, and
dude,
it was a
guys
different,
were like coal miners.
Yeah, it was a different time. It was just a different time.
What'd you give it, Aaron? 1.5.
2.5. Like I said, it's right down the middle. It's very well made, great cast, enjoyable watch. Just not interesting. So, nothing on you guys. I'm happy that you guys like sports films and this resonated with you. This just wasn't. It just didn't do anything for me, and that's pretty much it. Maybe if I watched it again, I'd feel differently. But as far as I'm concerned,
honestly,
yeah.
I don't have a ton of rewatchability for me.
To me, it just felt like another John Cusack movie about baseball, and I get that it's based on a true story, but the more I looked up on it, the more it was like loosely based on a true story.
Well,
so
yeah.
It's not even like historically accurate, so it's just cool.
It's close. It's not.
It says it's very loosely based.
Yeah, they have to shove everything into a 2-hour freaking movie.
All right, so Scott, what the fuck do you have us watching next week?
We're doing a baseball doubleheader.
We're going to do the doubleheader because Jordan and I had both thrown around picking sports movies. So I'm like, what?
Jerk each other off.
I go.
In the theater.
I'm going to pick the baseball movie that I got on tap, man. It's one of those movies that it has high ratings from Rotten Tomatoes. It's considered like one of the top baseball movies.
AMC American Movie Classics has it pretty high.
It's like their number 3 like sports movie or something. But from 1942, starring Gary Cooper, is The Pride of the Yankees.
The story of an American hero, cheered and idolized by millions, a symbol of courage and true sportsmanship. The Pride of the Yankees, a strange and fascinating drama in the real life of a man, his hopes, his dreams. In a nationwide poll, millions of Americans voted one man to play the coveted role. That man, Academy Award-winning Gary Cooper. Teresa Wright is the woman who loved and understood him.
Oh, Garrick, I think I could learn to like you.
Walter Brennan, Dan Duryea, the Sultan of Swat, Babe Ruth, and there's Velos and Yolanda, and Ray Noble and his internationally famous orchestra.
Well, you've been out with me 4 days in a row, and you're out with me here tonight. And, well, isn't that what best girls do?
The Babe's gonna try for a home run, but it's not for the crowd. I'll tell you something the crowd doesn't know anything about. This one's gonna be for a little boy in a St. Louis hospital. It's an IOU from the Sultan of Swat to a little crippled kid. Will he pay it?
I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
I hope this can be better than the one we just watched.
You're such a dick.
Just saying. I don't know. I haven't watched
It's a baseball movie. It's already starting at like a 1 for Aaron.
Negative.
My
I like baseball movies. Sandlot, Field of Dreams.
Oh, name those.
Sandlot's a kid's movie.
Fucking League of
They
Their Own.
play baseball.
There's no grind in baseball. I'm Tom Hanks.
That wasn't in Sandlot.
I said League of Their Own. Natural.
My thought is, I haven't seen. You know what? I haven't seen The Natural.
Oh, please don't pick it next week.
Next week, The Natural.
I've seen it.
No, my thought was, I want to do a sports movie. You had talked about that, and I'm like, you know what? We're getting to the baseball playoffs. I know October is going to be literally just horror movies out the ass. Let's do a traditional doubleheader. So that's why Scott and I colluded and made Aaron's next 2 weeks the worst
Just
possible 2 weeks
painful.
as far as movies go.
All right, guys.
And we're doing a baseball doubleheader. You're welcome.
Thank you so much for listening to this extremely long episode. We will be back next week, and then after that, you get your snack show. Pumpkin edition, actually pretty much whatever we can find. Halloween.
Yeah, there's a lot.
And then it's going to be horror film double features.
I've already got my 2, and you already know them. So
yeah,
I'm
and
excited.
I'm interested to see what Scott's going to pick because it looks like I'm going to switch up one of mine. But
I got to try to find a baseball horror movie.
Please don't.
Oh God, is there? I'm gonna look one up.
There's not. So all right, we will see you next week with Pride of the Yankees. Thank you so much for listening. As always, I'm Aaron.
I'm Jordan.
And Scott.
Big gulps, huh? Well, see you later.
Ba-ba-ba.
Do-do-do-do-do-do-do.